Cool. I think we can start. Great, guys. Thanks for joining, everyone. I think people will start coming in as we go. It's a 45 minutes webinar. It's, I think, the fifth in our webinar series this year. We do it every month. And I'm super excited to have Bipin and Amol over here. The topic for today is scaling application security in large organizations. And here's the agenda. I'll do a quick introduction of our speakers. They'll talk about everything that they've done in the partnership program and how, if you're thinking about security partnership program, how do you structure it, smart goals, long-term, short-term objectives, all of those things. We'll also do a little bit of how Akto can help, how Akto can be a partner for you in your API security program. And towards the end, last 5 minutes will be the Q&A for you guys. So, and feel free to ask anything. There's a Q&A, there's a chat. Ask any question that you have. All three of us will try to answer as much as possible. Great. So welcome our speakers, Bipin and Amol. Bipin, I think I've known you for a couple of years and Amol maybe for an year now. I think Amol I knew from he was at Salesforce and then he moved to Stripe and yeah, so I've seen that journey. Both of them work at Stripe, product security partnership team. Great security experience at Salesforce, at Stripe, both. And I think the thing that they bring to the table is how do you do this? How do you do the security partnership for large organizations, right? And that's their skill, that's their expertise, that's what they've been doing, and that's what we are going to learn from them today. Apart from that, also, I think there's a lot of interesting things that you've written, right, Amol? Traveling, guitar, cooking. So I would love to know from you guys, why don't you speak and, give a little bit of introduction on yourself, personal, professional, both, and let the audience know who you are and, it personally, professionally, both. So, yeah, stage is yours.
All right. So we pretty much covered everything, but after university, I just started with working with companies as a pen tester. So I've come from offensive to defensive, so sort of worked backwards. So I hacked products ethically for a couple of companies, Early Warning and Splunk, and then moved to Salesforce as a product security engineer, and then into Stripe as security partner. Largely, we have just worked with consumer-facing products and enterprise products to some scale to build secure by design, products and help the development teams to enable them make or take certain decisions from the security perspective. And my free time, if I have free time, I'll spend it traveling, playing guitar, cooking, and playing any sport. So some of these are, the hobbies that I picked up because I had to do that. For example, cooking. But others are actual hobbies. So, but yeah, that's all about me. Over to Bipin.
Yeah. To do cooking because you're here and you have to cook yourself. Nobody's there to cook for you. So yeah.
Yes.
So sorry, Bipin, you were saying yes.
No, I'm a bad cook. I don't cook often. Yeah, I think everything is here. Mostly the work experience on LinkedIn as everything is here. I've been and started as security consulting. Did more pen testing, code reviews, and move on to product side, which is more interesting, and you can have much deeper context and actually work towards impacting security of your product versus consulting was you just go and do a thing, get out after 2-3 weeks of project. Yeah, I mean, outside of security, I've been do quite a few things. I am also an active cybersecurity instructor at LinkedIn Learning. So I created one course on bug bounty. I'm also working on creating another course, which is going to come out this fall. And also work with startup founders as a technical advisor, made a couple of angel investments. So yeah, really like the startup ecosystem, especially the cybersecurity ecosystem. Yeah, I try to meet as many people as I can. So
No, amazing, amazing, Bipin and Amol. I didn't know, Bipin, that you were a cybersecurity instructor and especially at LinkedIn Learning. This is amazing. I've not seen any of your course, bug bounty program. You said, right? Like bug
Yeah,
bounty.
yeah. I just came out like a couple of months ago. So
Nice. No, definitely will look at it. And this, I mean, educating people is the most amazing thing. And I think a lot of cybersecurity people do that in their free time. It's amazing. And I didn't know you guys worked at early warnings and digital. And wow, like that's early warnings is also fintech, right? Like so, fintech, SaaS, fintech for you, Amol.
Yeah. Early Warning is the company that built Zelle,
Zelle,
which is a
correct.
P2P
Yeah.
payments within US.
Yeah. Correct. No, awesome. Let's move on to. So we'll do a little bit of introduction on what Acto is, and then we'll deep dive into the topic, right? So you're in this webinar hosted by Acto, and Acto is an API security platform. We are on a mission to scale API security for DevSecOps teams in your DevSecOps pipeline. You can go to the website. It's acto.io, founded in 2022. So it's been 2.5, 3 years now. Headquartered in SF, Twitter, GitHub link. We are also open source. So if you want to try out Acto, go to the GitHub repository, try out Acto. We'll talk a little bit about it later towards the end of the session as well. But this is a quick overview of what Acto does. Okay. So the topic, right? Scaling application security in large organizations. Before I jump onto the challenges, and I have a huge list of what challenges are there, I think it'll be good to discuss here as well, maybe 2 minutes to, you know, throw in like what we have seen the challenges have been in large organizations. And I'll start with mine. I think what I've seen, especially in the last 3 years, is uh, it takes time. It takes time because in any large organization, any program that you're starting, API security program that you're starting, it takes time to bring those requirements together, to have a plan, to get approvals, to like the end is really late. The results that you see is really late just because it takes time for people to come together and collaboration and all of those approvals. It's such a huge organization that you're talking about that the it's just hard to navigate through those time and approvals is what I have realized is the biggest challenge. And maybe it'll be good to hear from you guys, Amol, Bipin, like number one challenge that you have seen in scaling application security in large organizations.
Yeah, you rightly mentioned that the time taken from initiation of, let's say, a security review to the end goal, which is the approval, right? And what we are trying to do is like we are trying to shy away from that approval or like a gating mechanism because that just creates blockers for development teams, especially the high velocity ones that ship features probably every other day, right? And the scaling word in here, in the title, is the actual challenge because the development teams have like a significant more investment than what the security teams would have, right? And rightly so. So the way development teams scale, you cannot hire security engineers at that rate. There are a lot of reasons for that. Like, you might not find as much talent in the industry, or like the industry is sort of, niche as compared to what like a generic development or software engineering industry might be. So you cannot have, like, let's say you're hiring 100 software engineers to build a product. You cannot hire like, let's say 10 security engineers in the same time, right? So how do you ensure that as you're growing the product line, how do you ensure that you still have continuous security coverage with pretty much the same team or like a slightly expanded team? And that is, I think, one of the most important challenge that we have faced primarily in our previous organizations, and which sort of led to what we have learned and what we are going to discuss today.
No, correct. I think why don't I like this is exactly the number one thing, hiring and retaining skilled AppSec professionals, right? Like we've touched upon rightly so. And yeah, Bipin, I think your thoughts also.
Yeah, I think it's like, what Amol says, I want to add on to that. Just like the development velocity is so fast. Like they want to ship products like pretty much every day. There's like so many ships happening, and for AppSec engineers, for security team, it's very hard to play the catch-up thing. And that's where the scaling part comes in. Like, how do we enable them to at least it's still like ship secure products and like build in ship secure products. So that's why we call like shift left. You want to like get involved in as early as possible so that you don't have to retroactively fix something. You just like build the security into the product. And that's like everything everybody's trying to do. And that's the kind of biggest challenge that I think is across the industry. It's pretty common, yeah. And in addition to like, yeah, hiring and other things that you guys mentioned.
No, correct. That's the exact thing, right? Like I think you've touched upon at least four of the points that I've written over here: hiring and retaining, with the speed of velocity that you're talking about, scale and complexity, making sure development and the operational teams understand security practices. There's a proper SOP for everything that we are doing. Moving everything earlier in the development life cycle, right? Comprehensive coverage, buying and support from the people, from executive leadership for the approvals, all of those things, allocating resources. So those are the challenges. Those are the top challenges. There are many, but these are the top challenges that at least I have seen in my career. I've seen while working with so many of these large organizations that they face. So yeah, so I think it's going to be incredibly important to go through some of your learnings in the next 30 minutes, that how you have navigated through these through the SMART goals, through the objectives, through the long term and short term objectives that you're going to talk about. So awesome. Let's talk about this. Stage is yours, guys. And to the audience, guys, highly encourage you to ask any questions. If you have faced any challenges in your organization, talk about it. Talk about how we can help you navigate through it. Like just open dialogue discussion around this particular topic. Great. Over to you guys.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Ankita. And today we are going to discuss, what scaling application security in large organizations or any organization for that matter look like with security partnership. So we are going to discuss what security partnership is, how to initiate a partnership program based on our experience, what we have identified as pillars of security partnership, how to gather data, how to design goals based on those, like what the key success metrics look like, and what are the wins and challenges of a successful partnership program. So before we begin, we have an interesting scenario for all you security professionals here. There is a hypothetical secure co-op that we are working with, and they're coming up with a new password vault mobile application that lets consumers log in using username and password. The app, of course, stores credential information for the consumers locally on the device. So as security experts, what are the activities that you would recommend to this company, Secure Co-op, to build their product securely? Any guesses? There are no wrong answers, so feel free to be as creative as possible.
You can write in the chat, guys.
Okay. How they store the secrets. So talking about the architecture, design, and the functionality. Ankita, you want to take a guess? What you would do as a security professional with the company?
I think I would talk about what's your authentication mechanism? What is the authorization mechanism that you're using? Just like I think understand complete design from design perspective. What is that? So I think there's a question. Start with understanding the scope and break down the architecture. Apply threat modeling principles. Sri has written.
Right. Yes, that's like naturally the first step that you would take to understand like what the design looks like, and there could be like multiple responses here, which are to build secure by design principles within the organizations, which involves authentication, authorization, and how you're storing the secrets, which essentially involves like cryptography and authorization around the input and output. You can also implement certain tools to make sure that the product development is secure across different stages of development. or you can also have like a third party pen test the product before release and at regular intervals of subsequent versions. But when you're scaling application security org in an organization that has multiple products like these, how do you ensure that security has continuous coverage over all the projects that possibly have security implication while meeting the business needs, right? The answer is, of course, security partnership. Now let's see what the high-level definition of security partnership looks like. So organizations will generate data on the products internally or externally. They might have like certain data on the prospects of certain products that might do in their respective markets. The security teams generate context on those products. Of course, if the security teams exist, and based on the data that organization has already generated and the context that security teams have, they take certain decisions about the products, and which we typically called as approvals or different secure by design principles and so on and so forth. But wouldn't it be amazing if there is like a collaborative and non-intrusive way to build the products securely while meeting the business needs? Right. So security partnership is exactly that. It's basically a bridge between the security teams and the product and engineering teams to build secure by design products. Now, security partnership builds a bridge between these two teams because oftentimes in large organizations, as the scale grows, the teams tend to operate independently or in silos, so to speak. Right. So it is very important to have everyone on a consistent security philosophy across the organization in order to scale the programs efficiently. Now, you may ask that, hey, the organization is large and we have like significant investment in security teams and we have like 1,000 people security team, right? So why do we need a security partnership program to begin with? That's a valid question. But having a security partnership program will help you get the deeper context on the product as compared to normal security teams, which along with the data that has been generated would help you take better decisions, and better decisions, better context, and scaled program would lead to better impact. Next slide, please. Okay, so
I have a lot of questions, but I think it might come in your slides going forward. But continue because I'm very interested in knowing how do you scale this. If you're talking about like really partnership, you're talking about 1,000 plus developers and number of security people. So how do you scale this? Yeah.
Yes. And feel free to ask any questions in the meantime if you feel like there's a relevance in that. But let's see what the recipe of a partnership program looks like, right? Like how do you start a partnership program? So first and foremost, it is very important to align on the business priorities. A low severity vulnerability or the risk in a product that is used by millions of users or that is like a flagship product of your organization may have like more significant impact on your revenue, PR, and overall financial health of the company. You might have seen like a lot of news that come out when the products that we probably haven't heard of get compromised, which eventually leads to a compromise in a bigger, more famous product. Used by bigger organizations and probably like millions or billions of users. So it is very important to identify what the business priorities look like and what business is going to invest and double down on. Once the priorities are identified, it is also important to establish basic security functions. Now, these are like AppSec, InfoSec, incident response, GRC, and so on and so forth. But these do not have to be like fully staffed teams. Otherwise, it will defy the complete, our proposition of having a partnership program. But these functions need to be at least defined at the process level clearly so that the functions are clearly understood by all the stakeholders within the company. Now, based on the historical risks that you have identified or the data that you have gathered and on the business and based on the business priorities, and the future roadmap, you can actually build partnership prospects. So these parameters actually are the catalyst to partnership prospects. And the last and the most important step is to establish partnership and execute on it. No partnership is effective unless you execute on it. So execution is the most important step in the whole initiation process.
Okay, so to understand, basically, this is the partnership program. You have multiple functions: AppSec, InfraSec, SecOps, multiple functions. First, you define those the objective of those functions, right, and then sort of work with the teams to execute those objectives. But from your perspective, it's multiple functions. It's not just AppSec. It's AppSec, InfraSec, SecOps, and those functions, right?
Yes. And I'll give you an example to explain that actually, right?
Yeah.
So even if you, let's say, have a well-built partnership program that you runs in your organization, coverage across pretty much all the products in your organization, right? And an incident occurs. If you don't have an incident response playbook, you might not be able to respond to that incident effectively, right? And also, the incident may or may not span across all the products or like vertically or horizontally. So if an incident spans across, like, let's say, the infrastructure layer of your product, you also need to have like certain infosec expertise or certain processes that you have built on that vertical in order to understand the impact, do the root cause analysis, and then respond to the incident effectively. So process-wise, you define all the functions. They may or may not be fully staffed teams, but in certain cases, like incidents, they come in handy and would help you speed up the response.
I see. Got it. No, this is very useful. Because in my head, security partnership, I was thinking it was AppSec security partnership, but this is basically all odds.
Yes. It depends on what like your business needs are, right? Like sometimes you may have like good coverage over your applications, but you need like more coverage on infrastructure. Like infrastructure as a service companies, for example, right? Like they have a larger infrastructure underneath, and then they have like certain product offerings on top of it. So it would help to have like expertise in all the areas. One person did not serve all the areas, but you can, hire experts in individual respective areas and scale those functions accordingly.
Got it. No, nice. I think there's a question also. Somebody has asked. Maybe we can take it up now.
Sure. I'm not able to see the questions actually in the chat. Is there?
So there's a Q&A. There's a Q&A.
There's a Q&A.
Okay. Gotcha.
So it says, we are a team of 100 devs, and my security team wants to introduce a secret scanning tool in our GitHub account and move them to IDEs eventually. I face strong pushback on putting anything in CI/CD, and I also feel the push will be stronger for IDEs. How can I start security program for a secret scanning tool?
Yes, that's a good question actually. And oftentimes it happens not only with the tools, but also with the security decisions you make. And we are going to talk about data gathering further. But it is important to sell your proposition using data. And this has worked well for us in the past, and Bipin can also attest to it.
Yeah.
But you can't actually show the value unless you show like the effectiveness of it at a very small scale, and then show how it will be effective at the entire or the larger scale, right? So like you can write as many documents as you want, like have slide decks, take it to your leadership, talk about the tool, but it would be more effective, in my opinion, if you just like run a POC of that tool on, let's say, your CI/CD pipeline or IDEs, and show how effective it is on, let's say, one of the repositories that your company maintains, and show how many findings it gets and what is the impact that you would get after using those tools. Also, secret scanning particularly is very difficult to like do it manually, right? Like you can't go through all the files of all the codes within the repositories to just like find secrets. So it is definitely an essential one. However, the impact would definitely be more solidified if you can present data that, hey, these are the repositories that I scan using this tool as an ad hoc thing, and I got probably 20 secrets. I hope you don't get 20 secrets in your repositories, but at least like that is how you show the impact. And you can also reference to certain incident that has happened in the wild on with leak secrets. Some of them are actually active if you just like go out and search. But yeah, I hope that approach helps you.
Yeah, so basically, the approach that you're recommending is start small, start with a small POC, show value. Step two is show value. Step three is then scale it. You get buy-in from the value and then scale it to different repos, right? And I can talk about my experience. I'm not recommending any tool, but we use Git Guardian. We have seen like literally like email coming that hey, your secret is out and this is getting leaked, and immediately we have to take it back and everything. And it's very helpful. It's extremely helpful. You're not always looking at. I mean, you're not always following security best practices. So this is one area. I think this is one area that you can actually automate in your IDs and you can automate in your GitHub repos and all of that.
For sure, yes. And also it is very important to have a non-intrusive way, which we kind of discussed before, right? Like if it blocks the builds or if it like kind of stalls the development process for a while, you also need to be sure that the results that you're getting from that tool have like a very low false positive rate, which involves like either training that tool to understand what the secret is, writing effective rules, but that is also an important aspect that the leadership might focus on.
Correct. No, you can't slow the development team down. Number one. So yeah. All right. So pillars.
Cool. All right. So what are the pillars of security partnership program? As we can see, there are three main pillars: product, security, and data. We sort of have touched on all of them, loosely. But the product and security pillars consist of engineering teams, the leadership, and they're mostly responsible of making decisions in their respective areas, right? However, this decision making is fueled by the data. So better the data, better it is for the other pillars to function. So it's the foundation of the security partnership program. And then this data can be as granular or as broad as your organization might demand it. But stronger this foundation, better is the decision making by these pillars, and then greater is the success of the organization as a whole. Next slide, please. So once you have decided that you want to initiate a partnership program to scale it, and you have understood what the pillars look like, it is also important to have all the stakeholders on the same page, aligned on what the partnership program looks like. In order to set the right expectations, we are proposing a 2W and 1H framework. So the first W is what? What are you trying to secure, and what is the intent? Like here we answer questions like, what is the product that you're trying to secure? Is it a product that is used by millions of users, again, processing large amount of data? What is the sensitivity classification of the data that is processed by that product, right? So these are the questions we tend to ask during the threat modeling process, which we again touched upon like as one of the first activities to secure a product built by SecureCorp. In this particular thing, there are certain intentions like the processing like more sensitive data or expanding the user base, but there could be like other silent motivations like expanding products to different geographies or doubling down investment to build certain features which downstream may have certain security implications. So those also could be like prospects for security partnership. The next W is who. Here we define who the product stakeholders and the security stakeholders would be, right? And who will run the partnership program. So here we clearly identify the stakeholders, which also helps us drive the resourcing discussions based on the time expectations that we have set with the leadership and with the organizations of the stakeholders that are involved in this whole partnership program. The H is how. So how does the program run? And what are the activities that are performed by the security partners and the product development teams? How how are the security partners involved in the development process, right? So here we clarify the expectations, and as clear expectations are in this stage, better it is for the partnership program to function, because you may have like clear and actionable goals for your program to begin with. All right, so data gathering. Now we have touched upon data quite a few times, and you know that data is the currency of the modern tech world, right? So we are going to consider two cases here, one where the data exists and one where the data does not exist. So considering the data, one where data exists, these are typically like small to medium to large organizations that have an established security program or have been tracking risks meticulously using tools and processes, consultants, etc. If the data exists, then you can gather the risk information from legacy work environment, work items, tickets, pen test findings, threat models, SaaS stats, findings, etc. Right? Based on the risk information that you have gotten, you can build a risk map. Now, risk map is just a overview of occurrence of a risk across product or products within the organization. So the risk map will give you a clear indication on what risk is more prominent based on the historical data in the products. And based on this information, you can identify the potential candidates for a partnership program, because you now are now aware of the areas of concern. Then it is important to establish a feedback loop. Now, this happens when a partnership program is established. You may generate more data on the risk or on the product prospects, and it is important to fuel that data back into the existing data layer so that it is continuously updated. And as we discussed, better the foundational data pillar, better it is for the product and the security pillars to function and to steer the program in the right direction. Now let's consider the other side, which is where the data does not exist. Ankita, could you please click once so that...
So I have a, okay, sorry, I didn't. I have a question over here.
Mhm.
Maybe finish the slide and then I will ask.
For sure, yes. So the one where data does not exist, and these are like, early stage startups, or if the security program has went through a massive revamp, you may not have like a good quality data to exist to begin with, and to establish security partnership program based on top of that. In that case, it is very important to first align on the business priorities, because that's like the core of running a partnership program. Now, once you know what the business priorities are, in order to generate like that initial or the first level data, you can do like a wholesome threat model on the product or products that are like the potential candidates. You can also run SaaS and DAS scans, or have like a third party pen test if possible. That will generate like this first level data layer for you, which will help you build an initial risk map, which may or may not look good to the organization, but at least that will give us a motivation to start the partnership program or start the program in the right direction. And that will take us to the stage where the data now exists. It may be, a good quality data, or it may not be, but at least that's like the first step that you get. And based on that, you identify the potential prospects for the partnership program, and then you generate a feedback loop and keep improving the data to get better decisions out of the foundational layer and steer the program again in the right direction.
So one question here, Amol. So data gathering and then continuous feedback loop. It sounds similar to vulnerability management. Am I right? Or it's kind of that, but it's in your own. It's your own process, sort of.
Yes, it's kind of similar, for sure.
Yeah. So you're basically taking all the data. When you say data, it means you're taking all the vulnerabilities, everything, every finding that you've found from different places, putting a risk code to it based on risk, critical, high, medium, low, and occurrences and reachability, all of those things. And then you're identifying the most critical concerns, and then there's like a continuous feedback loop, and that this goes on, right? Like this is the whole pipeline.
Yes, yeah. To put it in like fewer words, we are just making the already existing data actionable for our partnership program, right? So you're just like basing off of what exists in the organization. You're just taking that as a source of truth and initiating a partnership program or increasing or like scaling it basically. And then from there, you may generate like more informative data and like have that continuous feedback loop. Which an interesting point would be like after you generate like a lot of data or have like a lot of cycles going in, you may also encounter that you may not need a partnership program anymore because the developers are now enabled to take security decisions, or you have like certain guardrails in place that will, so to speak, force them to take better security decisions. And that is also a win for the organization because now like you have scaled the security without having a human intervention in the whole process. So that's probably an ultimate goal for the partnership program.
No, this is very interesting. I think the most legwork that you probably have to do here is gathering the data stage because it's coming from so many different places. How do you bring all of them together in one place and put a risk? Is feels like there must be some work done, some process done to do that. All right, so I'll move on to the next slide. Oh, you have.
There's some animation there. Also, there's animation on the next slide. So
Okay, so I'll make sure this time I have the
it's
whole.
another question, but I don't know if we should take it now or later.
We can take it later. I think we can
Okay.
just do this. Yeah. Is there anything missing in the slide or okay no? So yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So yeah, I can take it from here. So what we talked about so far, we have so much data, and now you have to set some like goals for like what you want to achieve with this partnership program. And we use something called smart goals using a framework called SMART, where you can see. We just take the example of the secure corp that we discussed earlier, where we're trying to secure the password vault. And our aim here is to basically securely handle the username and passwords. So we'll go through something called Smart Framework. Can to the next slide. So the way you set a smart goal is you look at like the specific thing that you're trying to secure. And in this case, our specific thing is, you want to secure the actual credentials that user are providing us, and like store it securely, process it securely, and like data in transit, data at rest, as well as any other kind of a storage or leakage, information leakage. That could be a like specific goal that, I want to secure the user's data. And but how do we measure it? Like, how do you know that are we making progress towards that goal? So you need to set up some kind of baseline. Your baseline could be based on your data that you gathered from different sources, from like vulnerability management, that we are getting this many issues on this specific product, and we want to get to, let's say, yes, baseline is 50%. You want to get to 90%. That could be a specific measurable goal. You can, in this case, for this example, you want to reduce the cryptographic issues and information disclosure, let's say by 90% from the baseline. But then, like, how do we, like, what's the how part? Like, how do we achieve this? Like, how do we actually execute on this, or what we need to provide to engineering teams to, so that this goal is more achievable? So one way of doing this is you can provide a secure crypto library for any team which are accessing or like using the user information, or like any credential data, any sensitive data, how you're managing and securing. They have to use that library, and you can verify that if they are using or not at a PR level. So you can have like a PR check, like somebody mentioned. You can have like a CSCD check, where if you identify, this is untraditional way of doing that, then you can like flag that. More of an achievable part. But then how do you know, like, is it like that our part is it relevant to your overall security posture or not? And in this case, like, definitely it's pretty relevant. You wanna secure passwords for sure. So it's definitely relevant. R is pretty straightforward. And the last most important part is it how long you wanna, like, you have to set a specific realistic timeline, because if you don't set a timeline, then it could just like, keep on postponing, and then you would get into a situation where it can get deprioritized. So you want to set a strict timeline, and also reasonable timeline, where you know that you can build this library unless you want to ship it by end of Q4. And that would be like using the SMART goal for one of your objective or security partnership goal.
Bipin, so what's a reasonable timeline for a critical thing?
Yeah, so let's say, yeah, so it totally depends. There's no critical, like, how big the project work is. So if it's a critical issue, yeah, you want to like do it as soon as fast. So you could have a smaller like stopgap fix for let's say shorter duration of time, but eventually in the long run you want to reduce the classes of vulnerability where you go into more providing secure frameworks and secure libraries that could take a little longer to actually build and like have implement that. That would be a totally like maybe like a quarter out, or it depends on the how much resources you have.
Got it. Awesome. So success criteria, yes.
Yeah. So now you have like set some smart goals and need to understand like if you're heading in the right direction. So you want to set some success criteria, and there's some North Star for security partnership that we all can agree on, that we do want to reduce the friction between engineering teams and security teams. You want to empower engineering teams to build secure by default products. We also want to maintain the developer velocity that we touched upon earlier. Those are like some North Star that you said, okay, this is the North Star, maybe down the line, 1 year, 2 year planning. This is where we want to get to. And some short term goals, okay, in the short term, you want to reduce the security risk by significant margins. So, like what you said, like from the baseline to your objective, going to actually measuring that. And like short term wins would be, okay, you started building good relationship with engineering teams. You come across as, oh, we are part of your team, we are collaborator, we are not a blocker, and you're like addition to the product team as a security partner. So that's our like a short-term goal to get to that stage where they bring us issues or they bring us, oh, we are building this new thing, help us understand, do a threat modeling on that, or do like a design review on that. So we're gonna get to that stage in the short run.
I think this is great, right? Short, long, and then the North Star. And that's the right way to go for a large organization. You can't suddenly expect a North Star to happen. So for short term, right? It's brilliant. You want to be partners with your development team. You want to be friends, have a good relationship. Maybe one example, we've been for the audience that like it's the hardest job of a security team. It's the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, the pushbacks, right? Yeah, somebody asked this question earlier, right? So you have to deal with the pushbacks, and the thing is like you bring more data points, and it's like, okay, this is what we've been saying. You also need to escalate it to your security leadership and the engineering leadership. Usually there are somebody in the up chains who cares about security, so you like get those people, get buy-in from those people, and escalate that with your data points, with your all the metrics that you have gathered. And it's like a continuous process. You keep trying. It's like the goal. Everybody wants to like secure their company and secure the user experience, the user data. So we all get align on that, and we use that as a like a guiding point.
Yeah, that's the key, right? I heard from, I was in this panel last week and CISO said the same thing that developers don't want to write insecure code. They want to write secure code.
Exactly.
Everyone cares about their product. It's just that how do you prioritize it? How do you build that partnership? I think the key that you were talking about is keep trying until you find those security champions, the champions who will then become your trusted partner, then sort of like take your goals and align the development team to your goals. I think that's the key, and it's the hardest thing. But if you find your security champions, I think the North Star is much more achievable rather than like pushing teams and.
Definitely a good point. Yeah.
So yeah, let's.
So yeah, like in the interest of time, I'm gonna move a little faster. So obviously, you wanna have success metrics that you wanna keep track, such as like number of security review tickets that you're getting, incidents, findings from different tools, any kind of trends that you're seeing. Is it like going up or down? If it's going up, then you have an opportunity to find out like why it's going up and like find that area and invest in that area. If it's trending down, then it's an indication that you're making progress towards the program, and it's a good success metric. So, and it obviously is not like over 2 weeks; it's over few months, few weeks. So you keep seeing those things over the period of time and keep tracking those. Next slide, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have multiple stakeholders. This is involves different stakeholders from product managers, engineering leadership, security partners, and we all have a similar vision, which is driven by SMART goals. We're intention to shift left, building relationship, and actually executing and tracking those the SMART goals. And the vision is kind of a building block here, which everybody agrees on, and it drives the communication, resource, and impact. The communication is like you share timely update with the engineering leadership that we have made this much progress. This is the things that we have solved or identified gaps, and also seek feedback from them. It's like ask them to like what we should be focusing on, or what areas that you are. Let's say you're planning a new product or release, and like get us involved. So that kind of communication is like two-way communication. You always need to drive that communication as a security partner. And also, you could be in a situation where you identify like, oh, you have so much debt, and then you might need more resources. So at that time, a good prioritization comes in place. Like, where should you invest time in? What should you deprioritize, and work with your stakeholders to understand that and drive the resource management. Also, the like final thing is impact. Like all of us trying to have like reduce the security risk and like a business risk. So the impact is kind of common for all the stakeholders. So use all these things to actually like get the buy-in, and also like keep tracking and kind of head into the direction of like making this program more successful. Cool. Yeah. So we always have like with every program, you always have wins and challenges. We noticed that we were able to get like a holistic security posture of the product pillar that we've been working on. We were able to develop very deeper context because we're working very closely with engineering teams. We understand what's coming in, what's going, what are they working on, what the product does, what the customer complains about. So the deeper context is very important, which was like a good win for us. We also were able to reduce some risk overall in a longer run. And then also we noticed that some kind of less number of incidents with proactive partnership. And with everything, like there's always challenges. One challenge that we discussed earlier is like maintaining engineer versus developer ratio, which is kind of industry problem. Aligning with the developer velocity and engineering priorities is kind of hard, especially you have a smaller team, and engineering team is always a bigger team. And also like for the risk abstraction, when you're talking to different stakeholders, you have to communicate the risk in a different manner. If you're talking to developer, you have to be more technical versus like talking to leadership. You have to show a different kind of risk and metrics to get your like buy-in, which gets difficult and could be challenging for your company or your particular situation. Yeah, so we want to move forward. Also want to shift left until there's like no shift left. So when I get involved as early as possible with a security partnership, we want to have outward impact and enable other teams or other product pillars to like create a roadmap so that they can follow this. And like this is for us, they could be like different product pillars. So we can try to create a roadmap where we can give it like with webinar, you can take this as a roadmap and like do it in your organization. And we also want to do it internally. We also like to empower engineers to take better security decisions, which is like one of the North Star. If they own the security, we have good security champions. They understand they're writing secure code. That's what the long term goal is. And also like in the future, we want to identify like different gaps and different product pillars. There's also cross product collaboration. So there could be different gaps that could come up. So that's another like long term goal. And one thing is like always document, because what you document is always lost. So if don't be like a single point of failure, always document what you've been doing and what progress you're making, what are the metrics that you're measuring, so that other person can like pick up from that. Cool. So quick recap. So we did initiate partnership, find product pillar that you want to work on, do some reconnaissance, do the data gathering, get stakeholder approvals, work V2W1 edge, like what are we trying to do, who are the stakeholders, and how are you executing that goal. Then go on the data gathering part, get all the like your vulnerability management data, set smart goals based on that data, define success criteria, where do you want to get to, what's your North Star, and then actually execute on that. Try to fix those things, build frameworks, track those progress, and kind of rinse and repeat from data gathering point of view, and kind of identify new goals, set new goals, and follow that rinse and repeat and improvise. Yeah, that's all.
No, this is amazing. I think let's go back to this slide more and sort of recap from my perspective. I think the things that I have learned, the key takeaways for me is firstly, what is like start with data gathering, right? Like data gathering is your number one step. You don't have the data, you don't have a security partnership program. You identify your security champions. That your short term goal is so critical to get to the North Star. And the third thing is, of course, measure success, key metrics. I think those are very important. If you're talking about large organization and you don't have this kind of a process, it's going to be very hard to scale the security partnership program. So this is the key, and I think this is wonderful, right? Like I have gained a lot from this presentation. Hopefully, people have also. We have bunch of questions in the chat. Um, why don't we sort of answer that maybe here? You can type in also while I talk more about, how Acto can help scale application security, specifically API security, guys. So I think what we talked about is lot of challenges around gathering data, starting from gathering data, defining metrics, assigning risk scores, assigning risk, all of that things, right? Like what does Acto do? Acto will help you there in the first step itself, gathering data, right? Like application security, first step is like the one very big thing is API security. So where is the data around APIs? Do you have your API assets? Do you have your API inventory? Do you know the sensitive data exposed via your APIs? Do you have the findings from API vulnerabilities like broken authentication, authorization, all the OWASP API top 10? All of those things. That's what Acto helps you with. And as Bipul mentioned, right, shift left until you can't move further left. So that's our mission. That's basically how do we do all of this that I'm talking about, API security in a shift left way in your DevSecOps pipeline is what Acto does. And we have a wonderful demo for you. Unfortunately, I can't show you because of the lack of time, but I'll encourage you to maybe I'll share a link, and why don't you book a demo if you want to know more about Acto. And yeah, let's focus on maybe answering these questions. Some people have said the SMART goals feel like our OKR guideline setting. Different from that. I think there are some in Q&A. How's the role of
good. Sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
How's the role of security partnership different than a security engineer in post-development phase of a product? So even with post-development phase, you're talking about like so security partnership is a program, and like security engineer, you work at like different areas of things. The partnership is like kind of lies in between product team and different security teams. So post-development phase, you also would have like some changes or like maybe more like findings from bug bounty or maybe some incidents or the things that could occur, which is more data for you. And then you can like kind of look back into your partnership program and figure out like why, like do a postmortem, like why that happened or like how is it going after the product is already in production or is in live.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
So post development is like probably a phase where definitely security engineers can be plugged in. And that could be like through a pen test, bug bounty, as Bipin already mentioned. Vulnerability management like is an entire function that operates at that level. Security partner is actually also helping you shift left, right? So it is actually taking you to the initiation part of or requirements gathering part of the software development lifecycle, right? So the whole role of security partner is to be tightly embedded into the whole software development lifecycle, from requirements gathering to design to implementation to testing to post deployment, and help you with security needs for all your phases within the software development. So that's how it is slightly different, and it's kind of an know-it-all security engineer across different phases. So
that's a very good way to put it. So let me ask you a question, Amol. Let's say if, as a developer, I have a question around, like how do I implement this auth in a secure way, or very basic questions that can I, like, as a developer, are you available for me to ask you any question? Is that how the strong partnership is? Like during the development phase, during the design phase, I can ask you anything about, as a developer, about security.
yes, that's exactly what the interpersonal goal of partnership is, right? Like that you have one person to go to, a one-stop shop for security needs, right? That person may not have all the answers. So security partners may not have all the answers. They might refer you to other specialists within the organization. But as developer, if you know that, okay, I can at least funnel my question to this particular person or a team, that's a good place to start, because that reduces the overhead for finding the right expert within the company and then ask those questions to them, right? So to shortly answer your question, yes.
Oh, this is amazing, right? Like, and that's more the pull than the push. I can tell you, like, even in our company, developers do want to write secure code, and if they have somebody who they can talk to, about it, it's a different way they will code than actually doing it in silos. It's like having that friend, having that partner, having that person you can talk to. So incredibly important, and that's how security partnership is different from security engineers. I think the answer to the question is this.
Yeah. It's broader than security engineer. Security engineer might have more depth than partners for sure, but yeah.
So we have created security tickets into the engineering team sprint for a couple of months now, but they don't get prioritized. What do you recommend as goals to prioritize it? That's a question from somebody. Chris? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Faced this a couple of times actually, and it's more about like the leadership buy-in on the impact and the severity of the risk, right? And how it affects the whole bigger story of your organization. So that's the first part. The second is to have like a standardized SLA framework for that is agreed upon by all the stakeholders. And the third is to show the impact in some sort of a way to the larger organization on how the risks that have been piled up are actually affecting the product. And this need not be like a dollar or in terms of revenue lost or whatever, but it could be as simple as like there are like 7 critical risks that are actually piling up, which looks bad as compared to like having a product which does not have any critical risk. And it's just like a gamified version of portraying that. But the most important part is to agree upon a standard SLA framework.
Yeah. Oh, got it. This is great. I think we've answered mostly all the questions. We're out of time, but great webinar, Amol and Bipin. Thank you for being here. And I think the very big value that we get, and we've seen in the last few webinars, is also people want to really download. Not everyone is available at the right time, but people want to really listen to the recording, and they ask a lot of questions when they listen to the recording also. So I think I'll funnel those questions to you guys. We have this recording. We'll make it available on our events page, and yeah, this is wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, no, I have learned a lot. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Cheers.
Have a good day. Bye bye.